Welcome back. Aggie Nation, powered by the Eagle Auburn Bloom. Robert Seston. We are just diving into y'all's text. Hit us up, 229-1939. It's like the read and react session. We read y'all's text, we react to it.
We call it the rapid fire line.
Someone said the running game was only okay because Trey Carson played his, they didn't say tail, but I'm going to say tail off, had nothing to do with the line. It always has something to do with the line. And I thought they were decent at times in this game, run blocking. And I also thought, I put him as one of my unsung heroes. James White only had a handful of carries. I think he had 6 carries, but he looked better. And I think the fact that they were able to come in, even if it's just a handful of plays, and rest Trey Carson, that is a massive difference in how good Carson was. And he did. He played his tail off in this game, and he has all season. We've said this before. Nothing against Trey Carson. He is a hard worker. He's out there doing everything he can. He's just not good enough. If you want to be able to run the ball at an elite level, you need an elite running back. And Trey Carson's not. He's good. And like I said, he works hard. He's not an elite back. And there was some times on Saturday that there could have been bigger plays in the run game. And he and White just aren't fast enough to get to the hole. And we both kind of thought that. Yeah. And again, it's not necessarily on them. They didn't choose to be Texas A&M starting running back, but that's who A&M has right now in the running game. And so that's another part of the offensive problem.
When I saw that game and Trey Carson for the whole year, he had that fumble down near the goal line for Nevada or Ball State. But other than that, his yards after contact are amazing. The man is a man when he burrows out 3 or 4 yards a deal. That being said, is to give either Spavital, the offense, credit. I thought they did a great job with the 2-back set Saturday night. They put a lot of times White in motion or Carson. They give it back to the other guy up the middle. There was a hole there, a gaping hole. And as already talked before, the problem was they'd get 6 yards one time to be 2nd and 4. Then they threw an incomplete pass or get stopped at the line. Then it's 3rd and 4. They couldn't sustain it. If they had a small scat back also back with either White or Carson, I could see that play going for 15 or 20 yards because the hole was there. It was a great design, but they didn't have the back that could hit that hole fast enough. And once again, do you recruit a guy like that? And once again, these are questions that Kevin Sumlin is going to have to answer, or would they be better off having one of their wide receivers back there and give him the ball? I'm just saying there were plays to be had Saturday night, and they didn't get it done.
This is an intriguing question. If we were still only paying Sumlin on his original contract, this is a text, by the way, I'm not the one asking, but if we were only paying him on his original contract, would the expectations be different?
No, I think once they went to the SEC where they're at, I think the $5 million that we throw out is just a number. If someone was still making $2 million, you come to this job to be the next Bob Stoops, to be the next Steve Spurrier, what have you. The money with the facilities and the stadium and the expectations, that's what's not getting it done. The bad losses this year, the not competing on offense. You're an offensive guy. In 3 games, you scored 10 points or less. And let's be honest, there's 3 giveaway games. So out of a 9-game schedule, 1/3 of the time.
I'd say 4 giveaway games kind of Vandy.
Okay, well, yeah, you got to definitely put Vanderbilt. I'm just saying, less than 1/3 of the time, then you could not even score 10 points, and you're an offensive guru. Come on, he had better numbers in Houston than Art Browse did once he took over. I mean, Kevin Sumlin put some points on the board at U of H.
Yeah, like I said, I think that was an interesting question. The thing about it is they would have lost Kevin Sumlin if they were still paying his original contract. Correct. He would have gone somewhere else if they wouldn't have given him a raise, and that's what you've got to do. It's a little bit like the NFL with quarterbacks. You've got to take care of who you've got because who you might get could be a lot worse. And so, is Kevin Sumlin done enough to be worth $5 million? Yeah, because that's what the market says. They wouldn't have him if
the market is.
They wouldn't have him if they didn't pay him that. So yeah, the expectation would be different because he wouldn't have done anything, and we were talking about a whole different situation. But I think it's an interesting idea anyway. Someone texted, and this is the big question, coming up for the next month or so. What's the offseason like around here if A&M loses to Tech in the bowl?
Now we talked about this. Here's the deal. Tech, I watched 5 minutes of the game against Texas. There were so many holes in that defense. Here's the problem, the same problem last year. A&M has played weak opponents in ball games. Duke was not what I would consider a top 20 team, even though they were ranked. A&M was far superior than Duke and ended up winning, 52-48. Now, the defense did have their problems. They were much better than West Virginia, even though West Virginia started out ahead in that game. They're going to beat, I said this already, I'm already putting the A&M down to beat Tech like 56-30.
I do like
600 yards.
I do like how we're all just assuming that's going to be the matchup. It makes too much sense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for it to be anything else.
A lot of you are going to say, oh, the offense has solved. They've got 600 yards against Tech. Everybody's done that against Tech. Playing Tech might do great for A&M's ego, massage, whatever. Last year, after West Virginia, what here? Kyle Allen, quarterback of the future. You look at all these young people, what are they going to do? West Virginia wasn't that good. West Virginia is, fifth in the Big 12 this year, fourth, fifth, somewhere along the line. West Virginia is not where A&M wants to be. Texas Tech is not where A&M wants to be.
Yeah, and I think the question, what happens if A&M loses to
Tech?
My gosh. Be a meltdown around here. I mean,
that would be just, at least it's not going to rain in the Reliance Stadium or whatever.
And I stand by what I said a while ago. Someone's job is not even close to in jeopardy right now. But if they were to lose to Tech in a bowl game, like let's say the 0 is you absolutely love your head coach and 10 is you want to fire him if you can raise the money. A loss to Tech would bump that up a notch. I don't know where you're at right now personally, but a loss to Tech would bump that up one. And the other thing about it is you'd have to hear, the fans would have to hear about it all offseason from everyone they work with across the state.
Now that is the concern, but once again is A&M would be, to me, at least.
They would kill Tech.
But they'd be a 10-point, 12-point favorite, and I'd still give the points.
At least.
If they would lose that game, oh my gosh, that would just be.
Yeah, it would be bad. There's no question about that. Someone else texted, my biggest issue with the play calling is that when something is working, Spaff changes it up. Example, the one good drive we had was all passing. The next few drives, we decided to run the ball instead. That is a really good text because I mentioned this during the game also. They did it against Vanderbilt, and it's almost like A&M is afraid of their own offense. They're so afraid of making a mistake that they go hyper-conservative, which is not really like them. But every drive after that, they had a lead for a long time. And it was ahead 7-6 for an awfully long time.
7-6.
And tried to play it safe and do all these different things. And you can't.
Didn't want to make a mistake.
Right. They were too afraid of making a mistake. And that's what they did. So if they would have gone behind and they threw it more, would it have worked? I don't know. But that's a bigger part of it to me is that they just got too conservative. Ran the ball too much, and that's not good enough. A&M's not going to beat LSU running the football.
Yeah, I did that steal. They had like 16 plays in LSU territory when they were ahead or just trailing 13-6. That doesn't include the plays in A&M territory. They had so many plays where if they could have done something, they could have made it 14-6, and then boy, the screws got real tight in LSU. Yeah. But they looked like they were walking on eggshells, and that's just not this offense, or it shouldn't be this offense.
Someone said offense obviously needs a lot of work. Is this something that can at least be changed to the point of a 9-10 win season next year, or is this going to take some time? And will someone be around to see those changes produce results? I think you've seen some examples this year already that if you get the right situation and a little bit of luck goes your way, there's not a huge difference between an 8-win team and a 10-win team. I mean, yeah, your schedule matters, your opponents matter. And by opponents, obviously it's the same as your schedule, but I mean where you catch them in the season matters. I mean, this is the second year in a row that if A&M played Arkansas this week, every single person would not every single person, but a lot of people would say Arkansas is winning that game. You know, the same deal last year. But they get to them early in the season, and A&M's beat them twice in a row. So where you catch teams can matter. So sure, if they get an offense that works and has some momentum, then who knows? Sure, 9 wins is plenty possible. They were very easily could have beaten LSU this weekend, and that would have put them at 9 wins. If you beat Auburn, who's a mediocre team at best, you're at 10 wins, 11 with the bowl game. Yeah. So sure, it's possible. And we've seen also this year the power. I joke about this a lot of times. The power of positive thinking. If your team thinks it has a great offense, sometimes your offense just flat out gets better. And we talked about this on the way home, and I might as well bring it up now because this is what everyone is going to talk about. But it's Oklahoma. Someone is going to point to Oklahoma. He loves Bob Stoops, and he's I don't say idolizes, but he learned under Bob Stoops. He's going to point to, at least in closed circles, I don't know if he'll say it publicly, because that puts a lot of pressure on an offensive coordinator.
But he might as well, because everyone else will say it.
Yeah, they're going to point to Oklahoma and say, hey, look how much difference that offensive coordinator made. And Lincoln Riley comes into OU, and now they're in the playoff. We're talking about an Oklahoma team that's going to be playing for the national title here in a few weeks. And again, they didn't necessarily change up all that much personnel. They had Baker Mayfield, who's a walk-on quarterback. And other than that, mostly the same people they had a year ago. And all of a sudden, they're in the playoff. And that offense looks dominant right now.
But we also talked in the car, what's different about that is Bob Stoops, a little bit arrogant, but he's got the conference championships and the national championship behind him. So that their program has that arrogance about them, much like LSU. Problem with A&M, which Kevin Sumlin knew that when he came in, they haven't won a conference title in '98. It's tough to say that, hey man, we're going to kick butt just like we did in '98. A lot of people don't remember '98.
No.
Stoops and them are kicking butt. People wrote that he should have been fired last year. The Tulsa World, John, what's his name, said it's time to go. And I guarantee you, Big Bob said, well, here I am.
Right.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, and they're not the only ones. I mean, again, there's other teams out there.
Kirk Ferentz would be gone if he wouldn't have such a huge buyout. He'd been gone long ago.
Well, and there's, Ohio, Michigan, all of a sudden looks a whole lot better than they did a year ago. Their personnel isn't all that different. They just got a new coach, and they start buying in. There's an example here in town. A&M's defense is a lot better than they were a year ago. I know a lot of those guys are a year older, and they did bring in Justin Evans, but other than Evans, it's mostly the same people they had last year. They've just gotten better, and they've bought into the scheme. So you can see a big improvement even with all the same guys. Now, that's not necessarily saying you're guaranteed to, but it's possible.
And once again for those defensive players, when they come into interview rooms all year long, A&M went out and had the home run hour. Everyone knows John Chavis, him and Muschamp were the two gurus. A&M got a guy that a lot of people said they couldn't get. So suddenly, Julian Abway, all those defenders thought they'd play better. Because guess what? John Chavis is going to put you in the right spot at the right time. But a lot of that's just mental.
Right.
Whereas offense...
Again, power of positive thinking.
Offense, did those players play like they thought they were in the right position Saturday night to make a big play? Only for one drive for 3 plays. Ricky Jones caught a ball that I thought was going to go sail over his head. Reynolds made a great catch down the deal. They made 3 great catches that drive, but how many other plays did they make that were great during the game?
Yeah, I don't know. Christy Kirk in a long catch, but other than that, it's hard to think of.
Other than that.
All right, we got to go to break. When we come back, we're just going to keep diving into the text. Hit us up, 229-1939. Aggie Nation, powered by the Eagle here on Sports Radio 1150 in the Zone FM 102.7.